Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, government reclassifies Barbados as high risk under the COVID-19 country risk classification for travel within the CARICOM travel bubble. Alternative People's Party warns against emulating attempted coup at the US Capitol last week, advocating dialogue over violence. And the Fisheries Division condemns inhumane capture of endangered shark species on Dominica's west coast. The details coming up.
Strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. We're in this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
The Ministry of Health on Monday reported 8 active cases of COVID-19 since the last update was given in December. Dr. Laura Esprit is officer in charge in the Office of the Chief Medical Officer.
We wish to inform you that since the last press briefing on December 21, 2020, hosted by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and New Health Investment, there have been 10 additional cases. 6 of the 10 cases are males, whilst the other 4 are females, with an age range between 30 to 73 years old. Of the 10 new cases, 5 were detected upon arrival at the Douglas Charles Airport Health Screening Facility, whilst the other 5 were detected on day 5 PCR testing at quarantine facilities. All 10 were imported cases, quarantined from the date of arrival, and subsequently admitted to the COVID isolation unit for management and close monitoring. From the total of 106 confirmed cases of COVID-19 on the island, 98 persons have successfully recovered, with 0 deaths, which is a proud achievement for us all. Therefore, at present, there are 8 active cases. On the heels of a new year, the Ministry of Health, and by extension, the Government of the Commonwealth of Dominica, takes the opportunity to appeal to all Dominicans and prospective visitors to remain vigilant and adherent to all the established protocols, especially in view of the unfolding situation of the COVID-19 virus at the shores of our sister islands. We applaud you, the public, for your compliance to the protocols and the public health measures during the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, and we look forward to your continued support and commitment in the coming months. Please remember that your health remains your primary responsibility, and any sacrifices made to protect yourselves and your families from contracting COVID-19 is actually a sacrifice that saves lives. The Ministry of Health provides you with the assurance that your safety and the well-being are our priorities, and we will continue to do our part to ensure that you are provided with optimal health care, not just during this pandemic, but beyond.
Meantime, the government of Dominica has classified Barbados as a high-risk country in the COVID-19 country risk classification for travel from the CARICOM travel bubble. In December 2020, Barbados was categorized as one of the few countries where travel to Dominica would be easy, as the country was then low risk. Under the SACAFET campaign launched in December, travelers from Barbados and low-risk Caribbean countries would not require a negative PCR test to enter Dominica. Barbados was the primary source market for the campaign since it is in the CARICOM travel bubble. However, Late last week, the Discover Dominica Authority, DDA, issued a press release which says Barbados has been reclassified to the high-risk classification. Travelers from Barbados to Dominica must now submit the online health screening form and submit a negative PCR test where swabs are taken within 24 to 72 hours of arrival into Dominica. The release further states that upon exiting the port of entry, travelers will submit to a mandatory quarantine period of up to 7 days where a PCR test is taken on days after arrival, the results of which will be available within 24 to 48 hours. The release further states that upon exiting the port of entry, travelers will submit to a mandatory quarantine period of up to 7 days where a PCR test is taken on day 5 after arrival, the results of which will be available within 24 to 48 hours. The DDA has pledged its commitment to continue working with health officials to ensure the safety and security of visitors to the island. Dominica's youngest political party has added its voice to the growing condemnation of the riot on the U.S. Capitol last week. Here is Andrea Louis with more.
On 6th January, thousands of Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in an effort to disrupt the Electoral College vote count as Trump continued to insist his defeat in the 2020 presidential elections be overturned. The events of last Wednesday led to 5 deaths and many more injuries. In a statement from the Alternative People's Party, APP, Julius Corbett, former manager of the Aid Bank and current senior financial advisor of the APP, warned Dominicans they must not turn to violence as an answer to any political deadlock.
My Dominican brothers and sisters, let us be cautious with our calls for violence in Dominica. The ugly scenes which were displayed in the USA on Wednesday must never ever happen in Dominica. There is always a better way to do the things we intend to do. We should be strategic in our thoughts and be slow to anger. In fact, the Bible in Proverbs teaches that a person of quick temper acts foolishly, and those who harbor evil devices are hated. We need a middle ground, and APP provides this middle-of-the-road position for meaningful compromise in Dominica's politics.
Corbett says the most effective way to bring about change is not through violence but through dialogue.
While we understand the people's right to protest, and we do encourage it, APP wholeheartedly condemns all forms of violence and lawlessness. Brothers and sisters, what we need now in Dominica more than ever before is a sober discussion about what is decent and good and right for all of us, not just for a few. Let's turn our anger against the system into the right passion to change the system. Let's employ the right tools. Let's work together. Let's achieve together. We are better when we combine our best efforts. We are each other's keeper.
And you may remember this footage of a shark caught in the Taro area recently. Turns out that particular shark, a short-fin mako shark, is a near-threatened species and is listed on the International Union for Conservation of Nature because its population is in decline. The Fisheries Division said in a recent statement that it does not condone the inhumane capture or harvest of any fish species. The statement reads, on the 30th December 2020, a series of videos were circulated depicting the capture and inhumane handling of an adult shark along the Taro coastline. The statement goes on to say the method by which the shark was caught is not a recognized human fishing method and does not in any way portray the manner in which sharks or any other fish species are handled by bona fide fishers in Dominica. The Fisheries Division says to ensure that this is not the norm, it provides training and sensitization sessions for fisher folks on proper harvest and post-harvest handling techniques, among other topics. Discussion to get underway with DASPA this week for remuneration for dock workers. Andrea Louis has more.
The Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, WAWU, is the union representing the interests of port workers in Dominica. In 2002, this group of employees underwent a pay cut, and to date their full salary has not yet been restored. Secretary-Treasurer of the Waterfront and Allied Workers Union, Curtis Augustus, says approximately $8 million is due in back pay to these workers.
We are, in fact, having discussion with the management of DASPA in relation to restoring the monies that were, in fact, deducted from Dorcas since 2002, and that amounted close to $8 million. So we are in discussions with them in that regard. In fact, we have a meeting scheduled for the 13th of this month so that we could continue our discussions. We were not happy that we were making progress, and we in fact wrote to the Prime Minister in that regard, because sums like this, I don't think DASPA on its own would be able to satisfy us in terms of the amount that they want to offer to us.
As regards LEAT employees, another group which is represented by the WAWU, Augusta says talks are ongoing with the company and a small number of staff has been retained by LEAT.
They have retained a small core of staff to service LEAT. Now, we had information from LEAT that they will be going up to Barbados. From Dominica, there will be flights up to Barbados. And we are just looking to see when it's going to be implemented. We have been having a lot of discussions with LEAT. We contributed to LEAT in a significant way. We went as far to agree to a 10% cut in salaries for LEAT staff, only because we wanted to ensure that LEAT continued to fly. But notwithstanding that effort, we realized that LEAT decided that it would pay off its staff.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD. All for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid. But there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. We're in this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
President of the non-governmental organization Civic Vibes says he is looking forward to providing a platform for the voiceless in 2021. Loftus Durais, the former president of the controversial Concern the Citizens Movement, or CCM, which has been at the forefront of protests for electoral reform. Durais no longer heads CCM but remains a member of the organization. During the Christmas season, Civic Vibes collaborated with other NGOs to provide for the less fortunate in the city.
Civic Vibes is a non-profit organization in Dominica, which I head at the moment. It's an organization basically to dealing with Dominica from, or I should say, from a humane standpoint, in that we look at situations in Dominica that needs remedying, and we try our best from Civic Vibes end to help in terms of that kind of solution that is needed. Situations such as, for example, the elderly. We look at the elderlies in Dominica. We look at the less fortunate persons. We look at persons in Dominica who don't have a voice, for example, and needs that voice for whatever reason. And so that is where Civic Vibes come and kind of fill the gap to give these persons a voice. Last year, for example, we had 2 events. where we basically dealt with we call them vagrants in Dominica, but I choose to call them the less fortunate persons. We had 2 events for them where we looked at them and basically tried to meet some of the needs, especially where their nutrition is concerned, clothing, and just looking at them as a human being. That is what Civic Vibes did last year for them. Funding is always a challenging area for any organization, but I must say I want to thank all the businesses in Dominica, all the individuals in Dominica as well, who have so far come on board, and they are playing their part in some way, shape or form to help Civic Vibes undertake these much needed activities in Dominica. I also want to take this opportunity as well to extend that opportunity as well to other persons, other businesses who would want to come on board to help Civic Vibes unroll or unfold some of our activities for 2021 as well.
Dura believes there is room for organizations like Civic Vibes in Dominica.
Dominica is such a place that we live in a democracy, but even in that democracy where we live, some persons, their voices or their thoughts are sometimes stifled. And even when some of these persons try to bring out what they feel or what they think, then you have some persons like, other citizens or some organizations or even the government persons or the powers that be tend to stifle such thoughts or such expressions. And so that is where Civic Vibes as an organization is playing a critical role in trying to help give these persons a voice as well, in that where you may not feel too comfortable in speaking your mind, you can tell it to us. Once we fact check the situation and we know it is true, then we will bring it out for you. If you also want to come and partner with us to feel more emboldened, to feel more strengthened, to bring out those thoughts, bring out those expressions, that we provide that platform as well. In a democracy, everybody matter, and so that is what Civic Vibes try to engender.
The World Health Organization says the vast population of the world remains susceptible to the coronavirus. During its regular briefing on the virus on Friday, the WHO said virus transmission was intensifying because of human behavior and variant strains. Executive Director of the World Health Organization said fighting COVID-19 was like fighting a series of forest fires as the virus impacts those who are more vulnerable.
The reasons for that are the way in which we're mixing and allowing the virus the opportunity to transmit further. The virus is not stopping in each generation with each individual. The virus is continuing to find ways to move to the next generation of infection and causing havoc as it does so. The measures that DG has outlined and that Maria emphasised are still the same measures. We can still stop this virus. We can still interrupt its transmission. We have to double down and recommit ourselves to that process. Mike is correct. The vast majority of the population of this planet still remains susceptible to infection with this virus. It's very, very difficult to come up with an actual, accurate figure for how many people have actually been infected. Many of the seroprevalence studies have occurred over the last year. Many are 6 months old at this point, so we're dealing with older data. Maria can speak to how we're trying to address that number, but Mike is correct when he says up to up to 3/4 of the population and potentially more are still susceptible to infection with this virus. So this fire, to use his analogy, will continue to burn. It will continue to burn until we put the fire out. We can and need to put this fire out. We need to dampen the intensity of the flames. We can only do that right now through the measures we take individually and collectively and at government level to do that.
Dr. Ryan says the rollout of the vaccine will continue to provide a huge opportunity to save lives, but there is still a long way to go before transmission can be shut down.
And we need to buy time. We need to buy time and save lives until that happens. If we cannot get vaccines, and the DG has spoken to this as well, we do not want to see a prospect where we see large proportions of people vaccinated in some countries and no one vaccinated in other countries.
He says there are very particular risk groups who are likely to die from the virus and they should be given priority.
It is frontline health workers who are exposed to this virus every day. This is whom we need to protect first. It's not about the overall percentage of the population that's susceptible. It's not about the overall percentage of the population will ultimately be infected. It is, are we going to allow those people who are vulnerable and those people who are most at risk to get sick and die from this virus? That is what the DG has spoken to. The need for us now to take a step back and ensure that we distribute this vaccine to those who need it, to those who are most vulnerable and those who are going to benefit most.
Flow helps you stay connected to what matters. Simple plans and a better network mean that you can enjoy 7 days of unlimited social messaging, 3 gigabytes of reliable data to use as you like, 700 local anywhere calls and texts, with the always-on prepaid plan, all for $29. Keep your number when you switch to Dominica's most reliable LTE network. Buy wherever you top up. Switch to Flow. It only gets better.
Strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. We're in this together. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
A new in-home experience is here. All your services bundled into one simple plan. Faster, more reliable Wi-Fi so that you can binge, play, and stream uninterrupted. Unlimited Flow local landline minutes mean you can talk and talk and talk. Plus the best in TV entertainment with over 120 channels and 29 in HD, all for $160 a month with the new all-in bundle. With Flow, it only gets better.
To end the news, a look at the headlines again. Government reclassifies Barbados as high risk under the COVID-19 country risk classification for travel within the CARICOM travel bubble. Alternative People's Party warns against emulating attempted coup in the US capital last week, advocating dialogue over violence. And Fisheries Division condemns inhumane capture of endangered shark species on Dominica's west coast. You may access the news on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thanks for watching. Join us tomorrow.